Welcome to another episode of the Financial Frontier. I'm very excited today to bring you our guest, Tarun Gupta, who is the founder and CEO of Coinshift, which is a crypto payments reporting and asset management platform that helps Web3 businesses streamline their finances. Tarun, thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited for the chat.
Absolutely. We're very excited to have you too. So, to get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your professional background, and how you found yourself in Web3 building Coinshift?
Totally. So I got into the space around 2017 as a more of a consultant to help somebody running their Bitcoin core RPC nodes as a backend engineer. Did it for like 6 months, read the Bitcoin white paper, and the bug inside me was like this space is so welcoming for engineers like me. So my background is also infrastructure engineering. And then I started working in the Bitcoin Lightning space. So Lightning Labs was just happened around 2018 and build like a library for lightning developers so that they can build on top of it. So at that time, like scaling blockchains was only Bitcoin Lightning Network, and did it for another 6 months. And then one of my friend was working with Gnosis in their early team, and he just came out from Berlin to India, and he was like, let's build something called social key recovery. And a lot of people were losing their mnemonic phrases at that time, and we wanted to build like a simple system so that you can recover your mnemonic phrases through public key cryptography. It was some moon maths work, you can say. And then it was a steep bear market, and nobody was interested in funding multi-chain key recovery protocol in 2018, right?
Yeah.
There were no stable coins and all that. It was too ahead of the market. And then I open sourced it. I met one of the founders at Polygon, and he sort of introduced me to the founders of Biconomy. So Biconomy was just getting started with the cashless infrastructure. So I joined Biconomy as a first engineer, built the entire infrastructure of cashless with the CTO there, did it for like 2 years. And why I'm telling all this story is because we used to get paid in crypto in Biconomy. And that's how I realized the pain of paying people in crypto, because every single month our CEO used to ask us the addresses, paying to 10 different people individually in 2020, right? And then imagine like doing accounting on Slack or WhatsApp sometimes. I have witnessed that, trust me. So it was so weird. And then I participated in a hackathon, but like the first version where you can just pay to multiple people in a single click, saving a lot of gas fees, saving a lot of time, and directly through your multisig. So yeah, I'll stop here. But yeah, I think that is like the brief.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting that you were accepting crypto payments sort of early in this whole entire cycle. Our firm was doing that as well, so it's good to see that you're an early adopter, and that's what's led you into the space. It makes a ton of sense. So with your track record and what you're building now, can you give sort of a brief overview or your perspective on the current state of Web3 custody and treasury management, and just sort of what you're seeing there at a high level?
Yeah, totally. So how we see this as like, how we overall started as a payout solution. But if we want to drill down like the space a bit more, so end of the day, every Web3 company is a registered entity, right? And they are doing all sort of things which any other Web2 sort of registered company needs to do. So they
Yeah.
need to prepare their balance sheet, they need to prepare their income statement, they need to prepare their P&L statements, they need to
Yeah.
taxes, right? So as long as you are in the jurisdiction, specific area and under regulation, there is a financial obligation to prepare all these statements, right? So what generally happens with every Web3 company is they use a lot of banks. So let's say if you are in US, you might be using some neobank like Brex, Mercury, right? And then you will be doing your entire expense management from that. You will be doing entire payouts, and then you use payroll like platform like Deal, where you can just pay to multiple people in different countries, right? That is your fiat treasury management, so to say. But the good part about fiat treasury management is everything in terms of custody, in terms of regulation, in terms of compliance is handled by all these players. And yes, they take custody. The custody is not under you, but end of the day, the financial obligation in terms of preparing these month-end statements, it's very, very simple in the fiat world. Whether it's slow, but still it is there. It is entirely automated. But when we started to compare this entire landscape to Web3, right? Because the industry is just very nascent right now. If you see, like, let's start with the custody first. So a lot of organizations in crypto use Gnosis Safe as their custody solution, which is like a on-chain multi-sig smart contract system where you can just have a shared security between different people, and you can have threshold schemes. So it's like your traditional payment approval process in a bank, right? So if you want to
Mhm.
have two signatures before you want to move a payment, it is a very similar thing. The only difference between web 2 and web 3 is the custody is handled by your smart contract and your blockchain network, and in your web 2 world it is controlled by your bank or your central bank, right? So I think that is the difference we see. But the beauty of crypto is once you have this power, you can hold not only one kind of asset, you can hold any kind of token in that. And that's where it gets crazy in terms of managing the accounting for all these assets, because imagine you can't hold very easily all kind of instruments in your normal neo bank. You can't do that, right? But in case of crypto, every wallet you can create anything. You can interact with any lending protocol, AMM protocol. You can put liquidity in any protocol, right? And there is no hygiene in terms of wallet management today. So we once we start realizing like the patterns are similar, yes, but in fiat, it's just for one currency, right? But when it comes to crypto, the patterns are similar. People want to do similar things, but it's getting wild because of composability, because you can interact with anything. And then we realized how difficult it is to manage it for the end user, because all these tools are not compliant by default. So the compliance is off-boarded to the end user, if you think,
Yes.
because now you are as a registered entity, you need to comply, and that's why you need CPAs, you need like CFOs, right, who will understand, dig deep how the things are working, and then they'll help you be very very compliant. But still, it's a big challenge, and that is where like Coinshift is trying to solve all these problems. So end of the day, our mission is like you should have a better experience whatever you have with your neobanks today. If we can't provide that, I think we can't win as an industry, right? So if we think crypto is better, it should say it is better in every sense, right? It does not mean you just interact with the system and then your compliance is just, it's a nightmare. So at Coinshift we call it like a monthly closed nightmare. Basically,
Yes.
it's a nightmare from finding token balances to figure out who did what. So so yeah.
Yeah, it quickly becomes extremely complex when you're dealing with multiple non-custodial wallets and a significant number of assets that you may be holding in those wallets. And I agree with you, going from Web 2 to Web 3, Web 3 gives you this opportunity for self custody, but it comes with, at least right now, a higher level of responsibility because all of the compliance, all of the accounting requirements, like you said, are falling on the end user. And that's why I think it's great. We're seeing the industry sort of, go to this next level and sort of go to the next stage of maturity, I believe, with companies like Coinshift. So can you maybe explain a little bit, how Coinshift fits into this picture and how they're going to help facilitate the treasury management function as well as the other functions as well with the accounting and the payments and any other features that you guys may be rolling out?
Yeah, totally, totally. So as I said, right, the mission is like you should have a neo banking like experience for the end user. So they should feel, okay, if I'm using my bricks for fiat, I should use Coinshift for crypto. That is the amazing experience we want to give it to the end user. And how we fit into the picture is like just your bricks, very similar. So for a lot of people who don't know, let's say Brex is a neobank in US, and it's a very famous sort of bank which is used by majority of the crypto even companies, and Mercury is one of them. That is what your Revolut and 26, all these new banks are coming up, right? Which is like
Hmm.
controlling from your payments, invoicing, expense management, travel bill payments, from your overall like automating your accounting. So all these features are already available in Web 2, right?
Yep.
And and that is where like Coinshift is going towards very similar primitives. But the challenge in crypto is like it's extremely hard to build the infrastructure. So how we fit it into the picture is we are built on top of Gnosis Safe. So Gnosis Safe, as mentioned, is a multi-sig system, right? But it's just a smart contract, and end of the day, you need to build an entire consensus system on top of it. So for example, let's say there are three signers and one signer is not available to approve payments, so you can't wait for that signer before you create 10 transactions for your month, right? So you need to build a consensus system or build an off-chain system so that all these approval flows should be very, very similar to your web2 banking, but it lives on blockchain. And that is where the hard part comes, because user expects a very similar experience, right? So we build this off-chain infrastructure to move money very simply, to move all kind of assets. And then we have this feature called Coinshift proposals, where any non-signer can actually create a proposal for the relevant signer. So what does it mean is, if I am a CFO or I'm an HR person, I don't belong to certain multisig as a signer, but I'm hired to do my job, right? So you don't need to include me in your signing process, but I can offload the entire payment process for you, and you
Very
just
nice.
need to come and sign the entire thing, right? And we'll make it easy, make it human readable and everything. So that is our like one of our most used feature till today. Then we provide like the entire bookkeeping section, where you can just categorize your payments, how do you want to do it. So far Coinshift v2 has certain features related to your payments, mass payouts, proposals, you can say your cash flow reporting, historical reporting. But these are like very basic stuff, where Coinshift realized like 8 months ago, this is not the end game. If you really want your end user to use more crypto than fiat, right? And it is very sad, actually, if you see, you are in crypto, but majority of the crypto companies use fiat more than
Yeah.
crypto. And
Yes.
why they do that? Either their back office team is telling them don't do this because it is a nightmare, or they are not comfortable, right? And as a coin shift, right, being built by building a platform plus also using crypto on our balance sheet plus banks, I think we understand the problem from both worlds, because we're building the same thing plus we are using the same thing, right? So, and this is where it gets very interesting, and that's why 8 months ago we decided we will build everything in house. And because the industry is not mature enough, you can't rely on so many providers right now because it is just getting started. If I ask you a very simple question, right, how many people, how many services today offer service level agreements to enterprises? I think there is no one, almost, right?
Yeah.
And it is not great when you want to build like an enterprise grade treasury management solution. You need service providers who will say we are here to stay, right? So, and it has happened in the multiple times with us, when we rely on some partner and that partner went down. And imagine you are moving $50 million through Coinshift and you are not able to move money. So
Yeah.
how do you get that confidence, right? So it's very important for us, and that's why Conscious built its entire end-to-end infrastructure. So we don't rely on any other service
That's
provider
great.
except RPC providers, but our infrastructure is so great. If you replace the RPC provider, we can run our own node, or you can plug in your own node, basically, and everything will be very seamless.
Very
So that's, yeah. So just one additional point I'll say is Concept is building like V3 right now, and which is the first multi-entity neo banking like experience
nice.
for
Okay.
your on-chain organization, which will have payments, invoicing, and your accounting in the same app, just like your neobank. And then we are going to offer you on ramp, off ramp, and best cards on the system. So then you actually feel what does a neobank experience look like on crypto.
Yeah, so you're trying. So Coinshift, the vision, especially as you roll out this next stage with V3, is to have this almost be like a one-stop shop for Web3 finance and accounting needs, where you're going to take treasury management, even on ramping and off ramping, accounting, payments, everything in between, and basically have one dashboard for everyone to control all of this. That
Yes.
that sums it up.
And plus your workspace and team space concept. So what does it mean? Just like your Slack, you can create multiple workspaces, you can create multiple workspaces here, and then you have
Nice.
different spaces. So it means there is no tool right now which can offer aggregated multi-entity reporting on your single workspace
Very
across
nice.
all different entities, right?
Yeah.
So
And as you know, that's very important in Web3 because many of these companies, if not the majority, are going to have a multi-entity structure, especially if they're issuing
exactly,
tokens and doing other types of operational things like that. So I think
exactly.
that's fantastic. I also really like how you're taking this fundamental approach and building from the ground up and relying on your own infrastructure. Because like you said, we're going through this phase of trying to reach maturity, but we're not there yet. So we need, fundamental basis to rely upon when we're dealing, like you said, with moving large amounts of money potentially. You don't want to be relying on a third party and using Coinshift and then having them say, oh, this third party is not working out, that's why this isn't moving. So that problem basically wouldn't exist with you guys, which I think is great. So I know you guys are in your V2 right now. I believe you're still in beta. Is there any sort of like specific sub? I know we're talking Web3, but Web3 is a very broad term with, there's a lot of different sub industries within it. Is there any specific sub industries you see yourself working with in a larger capacity than others at Coinshift? Gaming, SaaS, any of the others?
Yeah, I would say like I'm just pulling off something. But I think of it as like Concept as end of the day works like your on-chain bank, right? So we deal from Web3 infra to your core DeFi to gaming to NFT marketplaces. So I think our large user base is definitely Web3 infra and DeFi, you can say. But end of the day, I think we are seeing a lot of users are growing in the gaming space. So recently we onboarded, for example, your Treasure DAO, right? Which is one of the largest gaming. And in Arbitrum, they are, I think, moving very soon. Plus, we are available on 10 chains. So almost all major organizations in all those chains use Coinshift. And some of those entities are also multi-chain, right? So Coinshift is like a great multi-chain solution. So you can just plug in your safe and you will be able to use it in every chain.
That's
So
great. And what's
yeah.
what's your perspective overall when it comes to blockchain coverage? Because I see, some solutions are targeting a decent number, maybe like 5 to 15. Others are trying to, really move the line a lot further with blockchain coverage, maybe like 50 to 100 plus. What's your perspective on that? From my perspective, being in the space so long, it's somewhat a cat and mouse game a lot of times for companies like yours because every cycle there's new blockchains, there's new assets, new protocols, and then you guys are stuck, creating solutions for that. So how do you approach that over the long term when it comes to that?
Yeah, totally. So I think the problem with the space is like anyone can create a chain, right? But it does not dictate actual liquidity is moving there. So end
Yep,
of the day, who is the user of Coinshed? If you think we deal with treasury managers, we call it like finance architects, including you. So you can say like any CPA or CFO, financial controller, right? We call them finance architects because just like in
I like
cities
that.
we have architects,
Yeah,
we have finance architects in our
yeah,
industry. And I think the main thing is like these users are very sophisticated, they are like coming from web 2, they actually understand finance what it means and then
yeah.
you need to basically make it compatible with web 2, web 3, sorry. So I think these users, till the time they don't take a choice. So what does it mean? Let's say I want to run my payroll, reimbursement, invoices, right, on all these chains. I think we should not launch that chain as a part of Coinshift, because end of the day we provide the banking system for that chain, right? So far I think if anyone has requirement to do a lot of investments, let's say DeFi and all that, we don't cover that in the beginning because we want like majority of our users should use those chains for expense management and really back office work. And this word I really don't like, by the way, back office. We want our back office people should be the front heroes, to be honest, because they're actually doing a lot of stuff under the hood to make this industry really really understandable by the government and everyone. So but yeah, I think it's a very common vocabulary in our industry, and in web 2 it's a back office. But we want to change that, by the way, in Coinshift as like your back office is the front hero, to be honest. So
Yeah, I like
till that
that.
time, so till the time they don't decide to use that chain for XYZ treasury management purpose as an organization, we don't go there.
Yeah, I think the use case with Coinshift puts you in a good position to where you don't have to really be chasing these new obscure chains. You can basically wait till they reach, a high utilization industry wide, and
Yes.
people are actually transacting in a business capacity on it, and then go and target those chains. So, like with the users that you have now, is there any like specific assets or blockchains that you see most highly used? I'm imagining stable coins, but like what are you sort of seeing on that side?
Yes. So when it comes to large DAOs or foundations, right, then it's a mixture of their native token, and obviously USDC is the winner here in
Yep.
terms of salaries and overall, right, payouts. So I think the largest asset I'll say is we almost processed like $500 million so far. So I think it's almost USDC is the number one. But other than that, I'll say it depends, because whether it's in a bull market, obviously a lot of tokens also flow. So obviously your numbers are inflated,
Yeah.
right? But it is just native tokens are flowing. Other than that,
Yep.
some organizations I can't name, but yeah, I think they are very sitting on large ETH
Yep.
basically, and they compensate a lot of people in ETH as well, right?
Yep.
You can imagine like some of the early teams in the Ethereum space who use us. Yeah.
Yeah, I see similar things on my end as well. It's mostly stables, but some Ethereum, um, other fringe cases, but I would say that's the commonality on my side too. Are there any, when you're working with these companies, especially DAOs and basically any of these types of companies, are there any like common mistakes that you see them make when it comes to treasury management that are somewhat consistent?
I will not say some mistakes. There are a lot of mistakes, and I'll be very candid here. The first thing we realize is like wallet hygiene. It's a very
Yeah,
big problem because
yeah,
you can't help if your wallet hygiene is not great. It
yes,
becomes very tricky to help somebody, right? So if you are doing a lot of things from one wallet, because your wallet does not understand expenses, liabilities, your balance sheet primitives, your wallet does not understand.
exactly.
So I think for us, that's how we are building V3 as well. Like we are very opinionated in terms of your wallet hygiene, right?
Yes,
So and this is the only thing where I think industry needs to be little opinionated, because wallets are too crazy to hold and transfer any kind of value,
yeah,
but you should not, right? It does not mean you should. So I think that hygiene is like is a common problem we see, where but it is getting improved. I'll not say like industry is definitely on the right track, but if you know this address is going to just have revenue, right? Just don't use it for other purposes.
exactly.
It should only be used for internal transfers. It should only be used for getting revenue. That is as simple as that, right? So
Exactly. And I see that same thing when I'm working with Web3 companies, especially when we're first onboarding a new company, getting an accounting system established for them and doing the initial cleanup. The wallet hygiene is usually lacking. And then that's one of the main things that we want to start moving them towards, because from the accounting side, when everything's just jumbled in a couple wallets, like you're saying, it quickly becomes a mess. It creates a lot more back and forth between us and the client. And then once you start to get a more logical wallet hierarchy in place, everything becomes streamlined even from an accounting perspective, and it becomes much more functional as well from a treasury management perspective. So that's a huge issue that I'm seeing as well. And yeah, I think it would be great to have a platform like Coinshift that is, set up to basically point these companies in the right direction when they're first getting set up on a platform like yours. And I think that's maybe what you're trying to facilitate here with V3, right?
Totally, and I think that chart of accounts mapping is the minimum requirement
Oh yeah.
before you even
Yeah,
before you even think about your accounting. But the main problem comes is like for very native organizations, they don't use QuickBooks and they don't have this habit of mapping chart of accounts
yeah,
basically. So it's not a label, right? You need to actually tell like, okay, this is your expense account or this is your XYZ account, right? So for those native organizations, the way Coinshift infrastructure is building is we don't need QuickBooks, basically. So
okay.
so that is how we are building it from the ground up, where
So you're going
you
to have the fiat banking within Coinshift then too.
yeah,
Background.
totally. So
And
it
just
should
build out the
be
full chart of accounts right in Coinshift, no integration. Very nice.
yes, and we are calling it like Coinshift Ledger.
Okay.
And that is the holy grail of our innovation, where like it's a double entry ledger sits on Coinshift. And then imagine you don't need QuickBooks. I know a lot of people want to trust QuickBooks. It's fine. We support that. You want to take it to QuickBooks, you can take it. But imagine you are in Germany, you want a native integration, right? How will you do that? So it's not like the entire world is running on QuickBooks, right?
Yeah. No.
So in my opinion, I think the way we wanted to serve this is Concept Ledger as a transpiler and normalizer for your blockchain, and then it has its own immutability. And then wherever you want to take it, whether you want to calculate BNL, cost basis, whatever, you can do that on this ledger out of the box just on Coinshift. You want to take it to your NetSuite, you can. You want to sync it automatically, you can. We don't disturb you there. But if you don't want, and if your auditor comes tomorrow and want to see the single most state what you are doing in crypto, we are that state for you, right?
Very nice.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
love the idea that, especially when you're dealing with Web3 native companies where,
exactly,
especially DAOs and stuff, where a lot of their transactions and balance sheet may already be in crypto. And on the fiat side, when they're using these general ledgers, it may be more limited. So I think that definitely makes sense for them. And then any Web3 company that's just getting set up and they want to be crypto native, even if they do have a mix of fiat and crypto, I think
exactly.
it's a very good use case to just keep everything on one platform rather than, dealing with the journal entries and all the integrations, which just
Exactly.
really creates another step to a large degree.
Totally. And I think that is the future. I think the way concept vision is like just move value all throughout the crypto and don't worry about your tax and accounting, right? We'll take care
Definitely.
of that. It should be automated.
Definitely. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are definitely working towards that there. So when you're working, because I know you're working a lot in Web3, but obviously you're working a lot with, CPAs, CFOs, the back office, as they say, or the financial architects, I think, as
Architects,
as
yes.
you guys may say. Are there any common challenges that you see working with those types of financial professionals, or like misconceptions that they have, or just challenges overall?
Yeah, I think the number one, other than the wallet hygiene, I see is like, obviously there is some learning curve of understanding all these different protocols. So let's say you did some crazy thing. I'm a founder, let's say, and I did some transaction on Uniswap on certain pool or some other restaking activity, right? So today the way it works is like the person who is doing the payment or doing the transaction is different than actually who's accounting for, right?
Yep.
And the workflow is totally broken with multiple tools. So you have Gnosis Safe, then you have Coinshift like platform, then you have different invoicing apps, then you have sub ledgers, then you have main ledger, right? So now
Yep.
you have four different tools basically, and your accountants generally sits on the read side of the game, not on the write side.
Hmm.
And these systems don't talk to each other basically. So the contextual layer of the transaction is generally your AP clerk and your HR person, right, who is doing the payment, or the founders of that protocol,
Hmm.
right? And they actually know when they're doing that, they actually know what they're doing. But if they don't categorize it properly, then it comes to the subledger or that problem statement. Okay, what how it is categorized, right? So
Exactly.
this broken experience is the number one problem we see. And in Web 2, if you initiate certain payment from any app, it is vertically integrated to your QuickBooks, right?
Yep.
What does it mean? You can interact any app which will vertically go to QuickBooks very
Yep.
easily. But in crypto, it's not like this. So this,
Exactly.
and then your payments, invoicing, how I see this, and then your sub ledger, these are centralized sources which don't talk to each other properly. And then you have QuickBooks, right? So this entire experience. So we have some customers who said when we showed the V3, it's like they want to touch grass because the experience right now is like so broken, and it's not a problem of sub ledgers or invoicing or coinship. I think the way innovation is having going on, right, it is very fast to build anything in this industry, but it does not mean it is solving the end user problem.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's why we take a step back. We don't want to go fast, we want to go very slow but right with the user, because that is what our end users want. They just want to very simply say, I want to do this, and it should be categorized. It should map with their chart of accounts, and it should be accounted properly with their accounting cycle. That's it. This is
Yeah.
what they want.
And I agree with you that, in some areas of development and startups, you can sort of, move fast and break things like they say. But when it comes to taxes and accounting, moving
Totally
fast and
different.
breaking things will leave you with, a jumbled mess of
Yeah.
transactions and wallets and chart of accounts that will take you 2 to 3 to 4 times as long to unwind, if it's even possible to unwind, depending on how badly you potentially could mess it up. So you definitely want to take a methodical approach that ensures, long-term continuity in your accounting systems, because the cost to switching platforms and systems and setting this all up again is very costly to businesses, not only with direct costs, paying, service providers, but just opportunity costs when it comes to not having a clear set of financial statements to make decisions with, and just hurting you operationally as well. So have you seen any, like, is it strictly more just focused with Web3 right now, or have you seen any sort of like Web2 companies sort of moving into the space and like looking to adopt crypto on their balance sheets at all, and possibly working with them, or are we still not to that stage of adoption yet?
Yeah, I would say we are not there yet. Yes,
Yeah.
there are freelancers who wants to basically increase their commerce in terms of okay getting payouts in crypto.
Yeah.
Yes, they can invoice their sort of clients. We are seeing like law firms or certain organizations which wants to do that, but it is not to the scale it should be. And the real reason is like it's a nightmare, as I'm saying
Yeah.
to yeah. The thing is like Web 2 is slow in terms of payments, but they have reached to a point, specifically in developed nations like US. They have reached to a point it's easy. Whatever we say, it's actually easy, right? It is manageable. And that is where the opportunity for crypto startups like ours is very large, because we need to make it easy, right? We need to make it better than your entire system of Web 2. So that's why it's a better technology. If we believe in that, it should work like that, right? So,
Definitely.
so far, no, I would say. But once we sort of build this revenue recognition product or all these, very similar stuff what you are already seeing, but under crypto rails, right, which works on smart contracts and everything, then for the CFO in Shopify or XYZ company, they will see us as any, normal technology
Yeah.
which will comply to their NetSuite of the world, right? And till
Exactly.
the time, if we are not there, they'll not choose this on their balance sheet. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
So yeah, I think you guys are building the solutions that in the future we can see more Web2 adoption, but they really need all of these functions streamlined to really make a case for them to
exactly.
even dip their toe in the water. Because for a Web3 company that's fully in the space, they got to deal with these problems. But if you're a Web2 company and just looking to maybe, dip your toe in the water, see how this goes, you don't necessarily want to take on all of these accounting and regulatory and tax challenges unless it's really going to, there's going to be a business.
Exactly. The delta is not big enough for Web 2 right now for enterprises and real businesses.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. That's why I was asking. I was interested to hear your perspective, but yeah, I'm sort of seeing the same thing on my side. So as you're building this and you're working with these companies, are there any regulatory hurdles that you're facing as a company, or that your clients are facing, that are top of mind? I know, the regulatory landscape is, complex right now and quickly evolving. So, we don't have to hash that out too much, but are there any specific things on your side that are challenges right now?
Yeah, so I'll try to say it in like, there are two major regulatory challenges. How I see this is one is on the facilitator side, whoever is facilitating these crypto payments and overall, right? And the second is, as we said, like tax preparation and obligations in terms of the full audit of your transaction, like know your transaction, basically,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for the facilitators like Coinshift or dApps or wallets, in my opinion, I think depends on the jurisdiction, but it'll be like KYC, KYB, KYT, AML requirements, OFAC sanction screening, then your UDAP and your red flags detection, right? So all these compliances built by fintechs, I don't think we are going to skip it. There is
No,
no way to skip it.
no.
So So I think I'm just sharing some alpha. Like within a year time, we are going to give this infrastructure to almost everyone, so that if you want to build like a facilitator types of compliance for your system, you should not worry about it. We'll take care of it end of
Nice.
for you, right? So we are going like very very heavy on compliance from the facilitator side, because Coinshift needs to do that. On the other side, in terms of tax and everything, as you know, right, which is the entire market of subledgers trying to solve it, I think that product is getting live very soon. But once we have both, just imagine, right? That's how you win as an
Oh
industry.
yeah.
That's how you say we are actually going to move money all throughout the globe in a legal and compliant manner. Till that time, I don't think any finance architect who is like a certified CPA will allow you very properly to do that, right? So it'll be very complicated, and the CPA sitting in Web2 today, right? We want to make them feel it is a technology they understand. It is a technology which speaks their language, right? All the compliances they know, we should make sure we have that. So yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. And then what role do you see emerging technologies, top of mind for me would be artificial intelligence. Like, how do you see those playing a role in the accounting system, treasury management, and the like, the whole platform on Coinshift? Do you have any plans for that, or like, what's your overall perspective on that?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, obviously, we are not doing anything crazy in the AI side. But end of the day, right, giving like right suggestions in terms of wallet hygiene, giving
Yes.
right suggestions in terms of categorization, right labeling, right, overall monitoring everything, fraud detection,
Right.
basically, right.
Account charting.
Yes. So all these things will come into play, obviously in some timelines. But right now we are not. We are just trying to build first like the stack under the hood, like the
Yep.
entire infrastructure. And once we have that, I think these services should have that. So any pattern detection, let's say you are burning this much basically on X category, so how does your forecast will, so the entire financial planning and forecasting, right, uh, can see a very different version with AI, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So
The key,
yeah.
though, like you said, is getting that infrastructure and
Yes.
quality data, because you can't really put
Yes.
the AI on top of it until you have those steps.
Yes. And data, just one example, right? Data is a misunderstood kind of thing, right? End of the day, everything exists on blockchain, yes, but it does not understand compliance requirements. And for that, you need translators. And the auditability in the translators are very hard if they are not gap compliant. So how
Yes,
you make sure your transaction is executed at this price, and basically the price we are attaching as an enrichment layer is also auditable. Who is going to take the responsibility of that? So right now, I think there's a very good provider like Kaiko. I think they do that, where you can audit the price and it is gap compliant. So those kind of providers we also need to
definitely.
win actually in the market.
Definitely. Yep. I totally agree with that. So, what resources, if you're speaking to someone that's looking to get into Web3, that's already in Web3, like what resources could you recommend to them so they can learn more about treasury management, digital asset accounting, and this whole Web3 financial world?
Yeah, sure. So, like overall, I would say the first thing, if you want to learn about, like we are trying to like publish a lot of like very detailed documentation. What is treasury management? How your payouts process? How your Gnosis save works? How you should interact with DeFi and everything, right? So docs.coinshift.xyz has like very detailed explanation of all these concepts, how the custody works, self custody works, right? This is one. The second is like I'm a part of Crypto Accounting Academy, which is started by Umar, founder of CFO Club. So you can go to I think Accounting Academy as well, and I see I think Crypto CFOs Club is also trying to now launch like an academy and certification. So that is also going to be a great resource. Crypto CFOs, Accounting Academy, the Accountant Quit podcast, obviously your Financial Frontier podcast, right? So that is also people should go about. But if you want to know related to our V3, which we are building with like 50 design partners where people from Bloomberg to your all on-chain big sort of user base, all blue chips in the space. I would love to talk to you, and you can reach out to me on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. So I'm always almost available to upgrade your banking experience in crypto.
Awesome. And that was going to be my next question is where can people reach out to you? So I think the best place would be either to go to your personal LinkedIn profile and shoot you a message there. I think that's maybe where me and you actually got connected.
Yes,
Or you
yes,
can go to Coinshift's website as well. And I'm sure they can connect with your team there too and
totally.
possibly demo the platform and start
Yes.
to see how they can get onboarded. Again, maybe real briefly, what does the onboarding process look like just in
Yeah.
general
So,
for a big company
so
on
today, if you just haven't apply for the access, very immediately will approve you. It's V2. V3 is like more gated right now because it is like for 8 months we're just developing it.
Yeah,
So for that, I think we'll have a call with you. We want to understand like your different entity structure, cost basis, like how you want to really structure it.
yeah.
So yeah. So for that, I think in the beginning it will be slow for the V3, but once it is live, I think in Q3 it'll get live to everyone, and then everyone can just use the V3 platform.
That's very nice. Well, Tarun, you guys are doing some great work over at Coinshift. You're putting together a great platform, and I just love your perspective on the industry and specifically, treasury management and accounting. I really think you got a great perspective on it. So I encourage everyone that was listening here today, connect with Tarun, go and follow him on LinkedIn. He also puts out a ton of great content on LinkedIn. Go and visit Coinshift's website, connect with them further, get a feel for the platform, see if it fits into your technology stack. And again, I appreciate everyone taking the time to watch here today. I hope that this has delivered value to you and given you some more perspective when it comes to Web3 finance. Until next time, I'm Patrick Camuso, signing off.